What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Fallout, the new video game adaptation, dystopian science fiction series out now in full on Amazon Prime Video. This is from Jonah Nolan and Lisa Joy, of course, their television follow-up to Westworld on HBO. Nolan and Joy are not the showrunners of Fallout, but they did produce the series, and Jonathan Nolan did direct the first 3 episodes as well. I think the premiere episode in particular really stands out for just, I think, impeccable visual, choices, great production design, really effective first episode. And Fallout, this is the latest in the seemingly just beginning age of video game IP adaptations, right? Just look back on what we've got in recent memory. Quality is still up and down, but we're starting to get, I think, some real gems. Of course, HBO's The Last of Us, last year, critical, commercial, and Emmy darling, unsurprisingly. And now you have Fallout, which I think kind of, perhaps surprisingly, has gotten a very warm reception, which I think is very just. And Fallout, for very different reasons than I think some of the other predecessors in the video game IP space, seems to really kind of nail what it's going for. I think the key reason why Fallout on Amazon Prime Video succeeds as well as it does is because Fallout is actually a great example of an IP that doesn't need strict reverence to pre-existing narratives. This is a show that is very much set in the familiar world of Fallout. Of course, the mix of retrofuturism with dystopian storytelling. Some of it might be familiar, but because we're not adapting specific storylines, specific characters being translated from game to screen, it's all basically new, if familiar, especially to fans of the game. It actually makes the show quite inviting, but I also think it's kind of freed the show to kind of exist in that Fallout sandbox, as it were, and just kind of be what it's going to be. And having these kind of 3 lead performances all kind of crossing paths because they're seeking the same MacGuffin, it's a pretty good choice. Having Walton Goggins play like kind of dual roles, basically 2 very different sides of the spectrum anyway. Great use of his talent, unsurprisingly. And then I think Ella Purnell really kind of jumped out to me of Yellow Jackets fame, but I think she really kind of stands out as Lucy, our main lead of the show. If you think about what's to come with the video game adaptations, right? Obviously, video games are very untapped IP, and we've talked about the video game curse for so long, especially on the movie front, but now we're starting to get some more hits on the TV side of things. We know a lot of big stuff is coming, at least in development, in strong development. The creation of PlayStation Productions comes to mind as well, but God of War, Mass Effect, there's some big stuff in the can, right? And I think we're suddenly turn the corner and every video game adaptation will be good? Certainly not. Like, I'm not super excited about Eli Roth's Borderlands coming out this summer, despite a strong cast. That being said, I think Fallout shows a different side of things. Maybe, it's not that dissimilar to Last of Us the more I think about it, because The Last of Us was also pretty inviting to a non-fan of the game just because of its strengths of its storytelling, right? That was, of course, very dramatic, whereas Fallout has a lighter comedic tone where there's a zaniness to the world of Fallout. There is a expectation that you're going to encounter a lot of there's an expectation that you're going to encounter all kinds of side characters and supporting faces, right? And the zaniness, the otherworldliness of this post-apocalyptic nuclear wasteland and how people have survived in and around that, whether that be underground or above the surface. There's unsurprisingly a lot of unknown with that, right? And this is a kind of a different take on something that, again, could be familiar to other TV viewers, right? To think of like Silo on Apple TV Plus, which is a much more dramatic, serious version of a kind of similar basic premise. I think, though, the key reason why Fallout resonating with fans the way it is, fans of the games, people familiar with the Fallout mode of operation, is because it's nailing that tone. It's really coming across as that worldview, that world building that we expect with Fallout. And I think maybe someone who's a hardcore fan of the games, bigger fan than me for sure, they would have really wanted specific adaptations. But the Fallout games, to their credit, were never like, I wouldn't call them like the richest narrative texts, when it comes to video game stories. So it really made a lot of sense to treat this the way they have. And there's Easter eggs there for the fans who want to find them and see them, but you don't need them. And I'm pretty impressed with how Fallout has turned out. And it's not a lock for a season two, although there's been a lot of smoke about that show going into production pretty soon, apparently in September. There was stories about them changing their production due to tax credits from Toronto to California. So all this pre-planning, even though it's not officially greenlit for a season two by Amazon, we'll see how the viewership turns out. That'll obviously dictate the decision. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased because ultimately, like, the Fallout TV show or the Fallout movie wasn't on the top of my list for video game adaptations. And we know we're going to get all of them at this point. They're going to do everything of the highs of Mario commercially and the highs of The Last of Us at the Emmys tell you everything you need to know about where we're headed. And yeah, Fallout kind of being a welcome surprise, I think, but also a needed hit for Amazon, right? Amazon, not the most consistent service when it comes to original content. I think that is abundantly clear. Again, read that big THR piece from like 6 months ago from Kim Masters about the issues that go on behind the scenes at Amazon Studios. This, I think they'll be very pleased with this, and I would have no doubt that's going to come back. And I think it's well earned because I think it's really nailing what it's going for and seems to be pleasing the right people. But yeah, let me know, how'd you feel about Fallout Season 1, and what'd you like most about it? And for more TV reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.